Hello, audience. My name is Trevor Martin, and we're back for another episode of Way of the Warrior. So, for those of you that are familiar with me or have been, watching and following on YouTube, Way of the Warrior is specifically designed to talk with other leaders in the industry, other warriors, if you will, that where their main focus is to put good and goodness back out into this world. So today I have with me Brielle Wohlenhaus. And Brielle, if you could, for a moment, tell people just kind of a little bit about yourself and what you're currently doing.
Yeah, certainly. So I moved to Florida 2 years ago, just about to the date, to basically just start a lot of different things. And one of those things was finishing my degree, which I'm happy to say I'm almost done with now, finally, after 5 years.
All right.
And I run an entrepreneurship club at my school with a couple of my best friends, which has been great. I work for legal services, and then I also am a content creator on LinkedIn and work in and through there as well.
That is awesome. Now, so I like the last part when you're talking about content creation, because I've on LinkedIn, I've been following you for a bit now and watching your growth in your writing and how you're connecting with the audience specifically through your video format. So I absolutely love your content. There, Brielle, there was one of the things I want to focus on during this time is you had dropped a post, and bear with me for a minute. You had dropped a post and you were talking about times of adversity. You were talking about overcoming that adversity and growing in the discomfort, right? And could you, talk to us a little bit, kind of elaborate on that? Like, how did that for you growing in that discomfort? Where did that all start, and why?
I want to say it did start relatively from a young age. I just noticed that, if I wanted to have the things and obtain the things that I basically saw for my future, then I would have to do things differently than what other people were doing. And I saw the people that I was hanging out with. I saw the people, who I was going to school with in my life. And unfortunately, they just weren't, their choices were just, they were poor and they were not benefiting their future whatsoever. And so, as we talked about, that was one of the first biggest decisions I made in my in
Oh,
my
but
in my late teens was I gotta cut them off. And I know that sounds harsh, but it really wasn't, because I looked at what were these people adding to my life, and it was nothing. I was sure adding a lot to theirs. I was that friend that was count honorable and asking to hang out and what can I do for you and giving all this great knowledge and advice. But unfortunately, if you're not even getting a fraction of that back, you have to ask yourself, well, what is this adding in terms of value? And it was not adding anything. And so that was one of the first biggest decisions where I really realized, okay, I mean, the alternative is staying comfortable and saying, yeah, I do have some friends, but they're fair weather friends. They're not quality friends. And
right.
so through that discomfort, yes, it was a period of time, a year and a half to be exact, where I was alone. But what I wrote about the other day is I didn't look at it as being alone. Like, this was a lonely season. I looked at it like a season of growth and opportunity. And I did. There was so much opportunity that came out of that season because I turned into the person I wanted to become, and that allowed the right people to come in.
That's that right there, right? When it allowed the right people to come in. So
Mm-hmm.
when we look at, if you look at your current roster and you're looking at the people that impact your life on a daily basis,
Mm-hmm.
I don't I don't want to sound I'm sounding kind of uppity saying like rank them, but the ones that are actually providing, that are benefiting you in your daily life, in your daily walk, right? Then there's those that are kind of there. Then there's ones where you're like, oh, I don't know if maybe you're kind of dragging me down a little bit,
Yeah.
or I'm trying to progress, and because I'm trying to progress, because I'm trying to do this, there's a little bit of jealousy there, and so right? That's starting to turn bitter, and that friendship flips
Yeah.
script, and they just try to pull you back, or worse yet, start the rumor mill, right?
Yep. There's been all of it.
Oh yeah. So
Mhm.
cutting that roster down to get to a point where you only have those around you that are benefiting you and feeding you the right way. That's a tough gig. That is a tough job. And you said you were a year and a half alone,
Yeah.
a year and a half alone. How did That's quite the switch going from like having a pretty solid foundation full of friends and and acquaintances. I'm gonna guess a lot of social time.
Right.
How did you manage that? What was that like going, once we start trimming to that year and a half of just kind of quiet?
Well, my biggest thing is my faith. I definitely took it as an opportunity to grow in that aspect. And that's been honestly the biggest thing in my life for me is knowing that there's something greater than myself. And I believe if you don't believe in something greater than yourself, then that can also be unhealthy because then that's when you start to get possibly an inflated ego and a lot of
Right.
things are going downhill because it's just all about me, 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 right?
Yeah.
And so that I would say that was the biggest thing right there. It's just like, all right, God, I'm gonna trust in you. I believe you have my life planned out and I can try and do things my way. But a lot of times when we do that, it can only lead to this precarcerous path. And I started doing things God's way and I really realized like, wow, my life has become significantly better after I did that. And beyond that, I really just started taking action and like, all right, it was during COVID. Well, we can't go outside a whole lot and do a lot of things, but I still did. I mean, I still found a way to lift weights around my house or go for walks or, swim, like something to move my body. There's the health. And then I have two amazing parents and a wonderful brother. So I did stay in touch with them and I got to at least talk with my family, right? I may not have had any acquaintances or friends, but at least I had them, which was so amazing. And I relied on books and YouTube to just start growing my brain to stay preoccupied in that way. And then once that time span was kind of done, it really propelled me to where I am today.
Wow, that's bravo. Like I like how you stop and you talk about what was and then what is, right? The steps that which you attribute a lot to your faith.
Yeah.
Having the belief, in something, having understanding that there is a purpose greater
Yeah.
than self, that right there, that's an amazing banner to get underneath.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as you went through that time of discomfort, and I mean, like you said, a year plus, that's a hefty bill.
Yeah.
As you came to the end of it, as you started to see friends or people that you wanted to dissociate with, what was the difference? What was the difference between those people, those individuals, and the individuals that you cut out?
I mean, I'll just give you perfect straight up examples of the friends that I was hanging around with and my best friends now. I mean, back then it was the constant let's go out every night, every night's a party. Let's, sleep around, let's hook up all the time, let's drink and given those even weren't the decisions I was making. Like I was not smoking weed, I was not drinking, I was not sleeping around, but it was just the principle that I was hanging around with people who were, and that's what was dragging me down. It was the same people that never talked about their future, that never talked about just things that they wanted to do in life. It was just always a party scene. And so that, we have on one side, and now the other, we have people who it's like, let's go to church together, or let's go out to eat on a Friday night. Let's talk about our future and our goals. And Brielle, I don't think that's a great idea. Maybe you shouldn't be doing that. Or Michelle, I'm not sure if maybe that's the right guy that you should be dating. Like they challenge me and I never got that before, and so that was so refreshing to just have this total switch and to feel like, oh, you're also not, like you said, jealous or envious, because I'm always trying to move up the ladder, and of course in an ethical way too. I'm not stomping on people's feet doing it either, right? But it's just a massive difference in the lifestyle.
Yeah. And I I applaud that. I'm sorry for the gap in, in conversation. My mind's going a thousand miles a minute because that takes moxie. Like
Mhm.
that takes something else to be. I mean, we talk about embracing the power within. I'm huge on that, right? Understanding that you want something, you can go out and you can absolutely do it. And I mean, the proof is right here. I'm like, you're doing it. Like, look, I know some tough decisions have to be made.
Yeah.
I gotta cut some friends or friends, right? And I
Yeah.
know that if I do that, it's gonna get lonely.
Yep.
For somebody that's been social for so long, you're gonna pay a price because you're not used to that. And that price that you're gonna pay is gonna be up here too. That mental battle because you're gonna cut those and then you're gonna go, oh, did I cut? I mean, did I
Right.
cut too deep? Did I cut too much? Like,
Yeah.
oh, and then you look at your phone and go, maybe,
Yeah. It's dry.
yeah, right. And you're like,
Yeah.
well, maybe I could do maybe one night a week, and you start to second
Yeah.
guess yourself, and you have to stay. That's where the warrior comes up, right? That says, hey, look, okay, I plotted my course, I pulled the trigger. I have got to stay here. I've got to stay right here because if I deviate from this plan, it's for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. All that hard work for nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had something else that I was gonna ask you, but I'm gonna kind of uh just go on a totally different
Sure.
direction. You talk about faith and you talk about how that how that's benefited you. It's got you aligned where you need to be.
Mhm.
Uh I struggle with that. I do. And I'm excited to see it working for you. I'm excited to see because it's not even Brielle, it's not even in your words. It's in your countenance, it's in your actions, it's how you just present yourself on social media and right here. And it's consistent. So I know that it's real. It's not like you're not you're not
Facade.
you're not what?
Facade.
Yeah, you're not
Theatrical.
because you're not in front of the camera like those those white tooth preachers that are like, praise Jesus. If
I
you
know.
you
And then
donate
behind
for the
the camera, yeah.
yeah, I love my if you could please help me get my sixth jet, that'd be great.
Yeah, I know.
So you live that and I struggle, and this really doesn't have to do with the way of the warrior, but you're here, so I'm gonna ask how what made you how did you come to that decision? How did you come to the decision that, you know what, this is my time for faith? Faith, God needs to, I need to give God control here.
Yeah. Great question. I just realized like I was growing up in a Christian home, and like most kids do, when you grow up in a religious household, you usually do everything but that, at least for a period of time. And
Preach.
I get it. Like I was that kid. I wasn't doing the most terrible decisions ever, but I mean I was up to some shisty things, like I even just sneaking out of the house and doing some things like that, just back talking to my parents. Like I was a turd for some time, just even things like that, right? But I would go to church or kind of looked at it as a social event to go to youth group on Wednesday nights, but like not fully walking the walk as we're called to do as Christians. So I would call myself a lukewarm Christian. Like, and I realized that once I moved down here, like I was called to PBA. I really do believe that. So PBA is a private Christian school, and my options were between ASU, a very prestigious business school actually, or PBA. And I was like, okay, ASU, again with the choices here, ASU, something bad probably would have happened. I mean, like, no hate to ASU, but kind of there's just not a lot of good stuff going on there. It's a huge party school. Or PBA, a very intimate school, again, with hopefully people with some like minded values and stuff like that. But I got a really cool message that popped up on my computer screen one day. And I wasn't even doing preliminary research for colleges or anything. And that's why I think it's so cool. But it said, God has a plan for you. He wants you to be here. And I feel like, wow, I'm going to check it out. And so I did. And just everything started lining up from there. And I don't believe in coincidences. That stuff to me is, oh, that's God. And again, through that lonely season, through that first year down at PBA in Florida, I still didn't have any friends. Like I met people, but no good quality friends. But I kind of figured, what do I have to lose? So I would go to church and I would go to chapel at my school and really just started getting involved, like serving the homeless, helping people and just doing that, like we're called to be a servant leader. And I
Yeah.
just realized those were the things that really started to fill my cup. And I prayed for more discernment, like the Holy Spirit to start talking to me, and he did. And I think that's so cool that you can literally hear from God, like no. I mean, and sometimes of course it's not direct answers like we want, like Brielle, absolutely not, don't do this. But sometimes you just know it's a mix of your gut feeling, or like you literally do get answers in some way of like, this isn't a good choice, or I'm going to start guiding you down this path. And that was just the biggest breakthrough for me. Like, you know what, I gotta fully trust in you. And I was in a relationship, which was just probably the biggest pivotal moment. And I just prayed. I was like, God, if this person is not right for me, can you please take them out of my life? And I kid you not, a day later, he told me some news that was really not good news, and told me a lot about his character and a lot of other things that I had no idea about. And I'm like, if you think that's a coincidence, no. God is swift with that prayer. I swear, because I still pray it. I'm like, God, take out anybody in my life who's not meant to be there. And he does. It's like suddenly they just disappear, or they do something that's like totally different. And you just have to wonder, well, why is that all of a sudden? So I know I'm going on a rant here, but it's just all these little things that's like, I've realized God is always just wanting to steer me on the path that he created for me, rather than me trying to create everything.
I think I mean, it's phenomenal how you tell that your experiences and in the passion that comes out as you tell them. I think that, Brielle, I think that you're an extremely powerful, because of your faith. I think you are an extremely powerful individual, and you are such a powerful individual that you are going to. I mean, you've already impacted my life, so you're going to you continue to impact other people as well through your leadership, and through your leadership, most importantly, by example. So I have a couple more questions about faith that I'll just message you. But I wanted to ask that, and thank you I know that was kind of off of left field, but thank you for answering that. And thank you for, establishing kind of that baseline as to where all of this passion comes from.
Yeah.
So as you progress, right, like like present day, looking from present day into the future, what are your aspirations? What are we conquering?
Yeah. So after my degree, I kind of like you, I have a plan of still sticking with a 9 to 5 while I'm building a business. I'm not going to talk about everything. I think that's just a good move, but I definitely have some big things planned, some things I'm creating, and just I'm always willing to change and adapt as well. So if I'm going to be providing something and I notice maybe not as people are after it as I was hoping for, whether that be a product or a service, I'm so willing to adapt and
Right on.
pivot. You have to
Yeah,
in
you
business.
have to.
So I know that's probably not the exact answer you were looking for, but it'll be revealed in time. The biggest thing for me right now is really just getting that dang degree. I mean, it's like a couple more months, and then I can finally be done with school for the rest of my life and focus on all those aspirations like wholeheartedly.
That's awesome, and I think having that prioritization is so key. And hey, not spilling the beans, and not letting the cat out of the bag and be like, hey, here's the surprise. It's going to keep keep people wondering and guessing. Uh, Brielle, I wanted to say that I really, today has been being able to talk to you and sit down with you. It's been an amazing experience. You are truly, a powerful player in this, the social media spectrum and influencing paths for good. And that right there, that is one of the reasons why I continue to follow you. It's why I continue to read what and watch the videos that you drop. And I specifically, I love some of the subject matter that you continue to focus on. So once again, I want to thank you for being here tonight. I want to thank you for joining us, and audience. Thank you for listening to all of this. Thank you for the left and the right and the kind of the drop in on different subjects. Really appreciate that. And Brielle, I almost forgot. If the audience wants to connect with you, where can they find you on social media?
They can find me of LinkedIn, of course. I'm not on any other platforms as of right now, but LinkedIn is where you can catch me.
Hey, LinkedIn is my favorite. I think I just started on Insta, and I'm like, LinkedIn is the place to be.
It is. It is.
Well, Brielle, thank you very much for your time, and I'm sure that we'll be sitting down again in the future.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you so much.
No problem. Have a good night.